What's wrong? Can't you sing dong ding dong? Push it all the phonies? Hook it up in the rain away? Get up on this Toronto death trip. This is the chair acquisition for Death Road to Canada. That's my lovely little Static X reference that I completely butchered. So, what is it? It's by Rocketcat Games. It's written in a custom engine using OpenGL and SDL, which is the right way to do things. You can pick it up for around 15 of your local space currency. And what does it? Control a car full of jerks as they explore cities, recruit weird people, rescue dogs, argue with each other, and face gigantic swarms of slow zombies. Randomly generated for a new story with rare events every time you play. Ooh. Full disclosure, these guys did send us some keys. Good on them for that. So let's kick off the chair acquisition. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. 4 chairs means that it's awesome. We also have our categories of doom, which we apply these chair rankings to, mixed with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So, did the car start when you tried to launch the Toronto Death Trip? Then did it make
vroom, vroom, bitches. Earlier, I think it was on Friday, when everything just went to absolute shit when this came. I got to scream 1404 LTS Master Race, bitches, because everything else outside of that had fallen apart, but the developer decided to upgrade to 1604, then everything fell apart again, including for me. It is back up and running, however, on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS box of business with a 980 displayed at UHD. Really no major issues with it other than it didn't run twice for different reasons. Bad dev. Oh, and local multiplayer, it's busted. I mean, how busted? Well, if you have somebody over and you're actually trying to play it, every now and then, usually on a whim, the AI will take over the second player. Put that one together.
So it's the buddy that your friend controls, right?
And here's the thing. It's a release game. This game came out in July. This is not a new release. And the bug with the multiplayer, local multiplayer, the AI multiplayer, that's busted. Known issue, Brad. Totally known issue. However, with a bit of ingenuity and by the grace of the chairs themselves, you can manage to get it up and working. And I think currently, right now, everything works if you purchase the game, download it, and play it. But as we've seen in the past 3 days, that could change mañana. But I will give it the 2 chairs.
Yeah, so on Fedora 24, 64-bit, on the i7 6700K and HQ, because I tested this on both the laptop and the desktop with the 960M and the 980 respectively, it runs fine, but it does take some doing to get up and running. It was working fine on Friday as long as you had tslib installed, or rather Thursday, but as of Friday it was missing libsndio.so.6, which does not exist in the Fedora repositories. So I had to go and track down the package that it comes from in Ubuntu, pull out the library, stick it in the games directory. Lo and behold, I was still missing libbsd, so I installed that, and then I was off to the races. Now, if they fix this, good on them for that, but I don't feel like going back and testing this, considering I had to take 2 separate exercises to get this game up and running. You get 2 chairs, man. Classy.
Yeah, no, on Thursday on Ubuntu 1604 and both SteamOS, it would require libts-o.o.so.o.
Send you a care package.
Yeah, Ven actually uploaded that particular library from Ubuntu 1404, and I just dropped it in the games folder. Oh, hey, it's working. And then Jordan started complaining, oh, they kind of futzed the dependencies again, and now it doesn't work on Fedora. Okay, that's weird, but yeah, then Ven actually pointed out there was already a thread in the Steam forums, and the dev in that thread was actually saying, oh yeah, I updated to SDL 2 2.0.4, and apparently they forgot to cull some of the extraneous dependencies, and the touchscreen lib caused it not to work on 1604 and on SteamOS 2. I guess they fixed it now. I haven't really gone back and tested. At least on 1604 it works out of the box, so everything considered on the both the Amiga with the FX8370E and the GTX 1080, and on the Steam box with the Athlon X4 860K and the GTX 970, it works now. So 2 chairs.
All right, that's 2 chairs for Mix with the Working. We haven't had like a full-on 2-chair Mix with the Working game in a while. Way to go, Toronto Death Trip, Rocketcat games. So Shiny and Sounds, Ven, how did the Hipster Pixels do for you?
It's Hipster Pixel, my favorite thing in the entire world. It's amazing and it's crazed. Well, okay, it's Hipster Pixel, but it is what I like to call 16-bit attempt at Hipster Pixel, and, for the most part, it's done right. Decent color palette, bunch of fake parallax scrolling, nothing really to complain about. The character creation is kind of spot on when you just start making, because I didn't realize that you could customize to that far until Pedro and Jordan were going on about, Richard Stallman. I was like, wait a minute, oh yes, there is. Then so I made the entire L.G.C crew. Maybe we'll play some of that later this evening. However, by default, you're running around and you are just a giant pixely blob that kind of looks and moves with a bouncy effect of what I like to call like E.T. on the Atari 2600 overclocked. And your feet make that wonderful sound, which I swear is, if not a direct copy, an homage to the sound that Link made in Zelda 2, the best Link game ever made. But back to that film and grain effect, that is just one of the effects constantly overlaid. One thing you have to do is, when you come into an area, there's little sparkly star diamond things that let you know you need to go and inspect, and that's where you'll find your petrol, your food, flashlights, just anything like that. And if you have that film grain, because sometimes it randomly flickers, you'll find yourself walking over to something. Oh, look, and the zombies will nope you. So definitely cut that off. Soundtrack. Didn't know it had one. Apparently, maybe it does, because I had the volume cranked way too loud. Then I hit start, and it went beep to like move like that, and just blew my ear sockets through my head hole. And that's really all I can say about it. The text, it scrolls by, then you're stuff like that. Run for your fare for your Hipster Pixel bit. It's not horrible. Graphics are all right. It does this was kind of fascinating. It does a windowed mode, 1080p windowed, or you can do a hard mode, giggity, which will put a 28-inch 4K displayed monitor in 640 by 480, which is adorable to look at on the NVIDIA.
More like horrifying.
Panel, or it's just like beep. Oh, it's like, oh, it's so cute. And I used to consider that a bitching monitor, but I'm going to give it 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's just meh. I mean, to be fair, they did Hipster Pixel right, because the game is like 15 megs in size. It's not like Super Time Force Ultra, which is a half a gig file or a half a gig download for a Hipster Pixel game. But I mean, it's just meh. I mean, so Hyper Light Drifter has completely spoiled me for Hipster Pixel games, because now that's set the bar. That's what I consider a 4-chair Hipster Pixel. And if you don't even come close, you're going to get 2 chairs for this. And yeah, Ven's right. The film grain totally looks like the focusy sparkle things. And I too was perplexed to learn that there was in fact sound in this game, because I didn't hear any and everything was cranked up. So I mean, that's really it. It's very underwhelming. It gets the job done, so it gets the middling score, 2 chairs.
Yeah, no, it's not exactly Hipster Pixel. It's like Jordan already mentioned, it's a 50 megabyte download. So yeah, no, and the pixel art isn't terrible. What really irked me, like both Ven and Jordan already mentioned, were the camera filters they had going on. You had the film grain, you had the scratches, you had the glitches, you had just completely stupid, superfluous stuff that has no business being in there. Thankfully, they give you an option to disable those, which I did immediately. Now, after the first run, which took me about 20 minutes till all my guys were munched, I had to mute the sounds and just listen to something else in the background. I get that the game is trying to be purposefully campy. That's painfully obvious when you look at some of the dialogue, quote unquote. But that doesn't excuse how annoying the MIDI grunts and thwacks get after just a few minutes. So for me, it gets 2 chairs.
All right, that's 2 chairs for Shiny and Sounds. Up next is Control. Then how the Control? Did it drive well?
Yeah. I mean, it actually did all right, Brad. It's not horrible. Now, admittedly, I did not try this with a keyboard and dribble. I don't even know if the gerbil would be a use. It'd probably just be keyboard and mash, because it's something you look at it and you're like, oh, this is going to be like a twin stick type thing. You'd be wrong. It's basically, you're down, up, left, right. Fair. That's how you aim, and you do that. They kind of did guns right with the aiming. I didn't have a problem with the aiming. Some people actually did. But there is a problem with the down, up, left, right. It's SDL too. Everything should work. Everything doesn't, but it's not busted. But I did find myself having to tap the directional arrow, even in things like the menu. This is when you know you're going to have a little bit of irritation, like left, because you have an inventory screen, statuses and all that, and you're sitting back, with the 2 meter long extension on your X-Clone controller, like chilling out, looking at the big screen. You're like, click, damn it, left, then it goes. And I was like, ooh, that might be a problem later when I'm in a sort of zombies, but fortunately, everything in this game is really slow. So it's more of an annoyance. I can't really ding at a chair with that, but that is something that probably should be addressed. But don't flip out, and it's something you should look out for. I'm going to give it a solid 4.
I mean, everything worked relatively fine with the Steam controller. You can't tell a crowd against the dark background, but I'm holding it up. But yeah, the one thing that kind of irked me was, number one, all the button prompts they tell you in the tutorial are mapped to the keyboard, regardless of if you have a controller plugged in. So there's that brief moment of figuring out which buttons do what. The other thing is that aiming is really weird, because I'll find I'm walking in this direction and I want to shoot something, but my character didn't flip over to the other side where that enemy is, and so I end up wasting bullets because I hit left and I expect my character to face left. But beyond that, no real issues. The aiming's a bit hit and miss, but it gets 3 chairs nonetheless.
Yeah, everything I threw at it worked. Like Ben already said, there was more than just a couple of times where it didn't register a couple of inputs, but that seemed to be mostly in the menus for me. So I don't know what the hell was up with that. But yeah, it's kind of to be expected that everything, whatever manner of joystick or gamepad you happen to have around, it's just going to work because they're using SDL2 and they're doing it right. Both the Logitech F310 and the Mistress over here, both of these worked just fine. I guess if you really wanted to, you could play it with the mouse and keyboard, but I have no idea. 4 chairs.
All right, that gets 3 for control. And finally, the fun segment. Ben, did you have fun on our little road trip?
Hey, man, check this out. In this game, you can actually throw chairs. 5 chairs. Next.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about what this game is. And it took me a minute to realize this. Much like, what was it, Darkest Dungeons? Or
Yeah, Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game of random luck. And not a big fan of that, but maybe we can get into it. So let's think about this. With your basic play, it is brief. You're in a car, or you're in a van, or you're in that thing from
You're on a horse.
Dumb and Dumber 2, or a free candy van. And you're riding, and you're going to get skullfucked there. But then you have where you get to test your skill, which you don't need a whole lot of, is when you go scavenging and you find stuff, and it's well done. It is enjoyable because you can throw your chairs, you can build barricades, and you can herd the zombies, and you can remember to shut doors. Once I realized that you could shut doors, this game got a lot fucking easier. I was like, oh, that was kind of dumb of me. But there are some things you can't do. One, medkits. You can't use medkits when you are scavenging. That you need to have somebody with a health ability to use the medkits in the motoring vehicle in order to heal back up. Kind of irritating that you can't use the medkits, especially when you're in siege mode. You'll find out about that when the game decides it wants to skull fuck you, and it will, because, a couple of times you'll have a good run, good 10, 15-minute long run. Sometimes 3 minutes, the game will instantly nope you right out of the gate. So I was like, well, why are you even bothering with the save function, Brad? I mean, no one's going to sit here and it's like save spam. There's no point. Then we talk about the AI, since we've already discussed that online multiplayer, not a thing. They need to fix that. That would be a thing. Or a 4-way local would be good. But even 2, you can't really do that. So you're stuck with the AI. And the AI are fucking kleptomaniacs. You can't let them near any items that drop the items that you're going to need for weapons, basically is what I'm talking about, because you want to get all the fun stuff. They said, yoink, yoink, yoink. And I was like, damn it. So I didn't end up with anything good. And let's talk about this. While you're driving and you think things are going remotely good, get ready for a siege or 7. And if you're having a bad one, expect 8, because that's what it does. But let's talk about what is really fun, at least for me. What made this game is like, shit, I'm absolutely going to continue playing this. And that is that customization I was talking about. When I sit down and realize that, oh, right, let's make, this is something Jordan, I think, can expand on better in his bit, because that's something he does to make him care about the character. So I made the L.G.C crew, me, myself, Strider. I even put Orn in there because we need somebody to trade, if something went horribly wrong. But the random button frighteningly well on generating members of the L.G.C team with just a slight hair change or two. But yeah, that actually made it fun watching that. And Empty's representation is horrifying. Maybe we'll look at that after the show. It's kind of fun. But what is it? If we got to put a bow on it for this fun section, it's Oregon Death Trail, hack and slash, hipster pixel, 16-bit wannabe game that's kind of ruined by the RNG events, man. At least in Darkest Dungeon, it gave you the illusion that you might stand the slightest fucking chance at some point. This game, I don't know. And I know there's a ton of game modes. I'm still on that first game mode, and I was like, people like, I made it almost to the end of the Death Road to Canada, and then I got noped, and I was like, okay, good. I don't know how you did that. But yeah, the RNG just really kind of kills it for me. I mean, I've never died outside of like siege events in the game from anything other than the game spinning the wheel of Booga Booga and going, you know what, you're dead. And I'm like, come on. I was like, nope, still dead. So I might actually get back into this if they ever get the 4-player co-op. That's something they plan on working on. Or, maybe if they get started on some of that netcode, Brad, we'll come back and we're going to talk about it. So I'm going to get this 2 chairs. It's not busted. It's not broken. But at $14.99, that's a tough sell.
Yeah, so speaking of throwing chairs, periodically while you're driving the car, you'll get conversations about it. And when Richard Stallman starts saying, I can't believe we can start throwing chairs, it makes everything better, I just had a smile on my face. The first time it cropped up, I couldn't grab a screenshot in time. I'll post it I managed to grab it the second time around. I'll post it in the show notes. But at one point, my squad consisted of Richard Stallman, Sailor Moon, and a luchador named El Satan. Only Sailor Moon actually survived, and then her car blew up, killing her. Yeah, so you just randomly die in this, which is kind of horseshit. I was originally going to give this game 3 chairs because I enjoyed it from the outset. But as time goes on, the game really starts to drag because you get the same sort of carpool conversations again and again and again. And then RNG comes and rips your legs off and beats you to death with it. Though you can get a lot of fun out of like the special character run through is fun because you get some weird shit like Sailor Moon and Mexican wrestlers, and at one point McGruff the crime dog, just a dog in a trench coat, and also a dog who can drive a car. But I mean it wears thin after a while. You'll generally die after about 20-30 minutes because the game just throws a bunch of horseshit at you, like, oh yeah, here's an event that takes all your ammo away, here's a siege, have fun with that, and then you just die because you have no weapons. To counter events point about the inventory, you can actually swap out inventory, so if your AI guys pick up stuff, you can just give it to you.
Yeah, what I'm talking about when you were in game fighting and you needed a weapon.
Oh no, you can totally do that.
Oh, you can pause it?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Didn't know.
And so, yeah, like I was saying, for a pick up and play title, it's all right because you're going to not spend more than half an hour. But that's all this will ever be. A slightly less than horrible way to kill 30 minutes. It gets 2 cheers.
Yeah, this is a newish take on the old Oregon Trail with a few improvements, especially for those moments when you're not just reading about characters spouting memes and internet culture references while you're driving to Canada. Getting out of the car and exploring the stores/houses of the cities you come across is now considerably more enjoyable than those similar sections in Oregon Trail. But just like Oregon Trail, this is a genre that doesn't particularly appeal to me. Granted, you can still get some enjoyment out of making the custom characters for your friends/internet buddies like you would with your XComs. It's the whole war story spiel all over again. In my game, for instance, I was in a party consisting of me, Scott Michaud, and Ven. And in game, we had made camp for the night, and a moose showed up. Now, when you get like one of those random events, you get like 4 choices where your characters decide on what to do. Now, one of the choices on my end was Ven wrestles with moose. Of course, I picked that, and Ven lost, and he died because the moose bit his head off. It's also the game in itself is also a great way to burn like 20 minutes up to an hour when you just want to play a run and then do something else when your characters get munched. Now, the inability to save a run whenever you want, while fitting with the theme of Oregon/Oregon Trail type game, it just makes it so I get bored and I just decide to get all my characters killed so I can start a new run whenever I decide to pick up on the game again. But yeah, that kind of kills it for me. So 2 chairs.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for fun. And if we tally all of that, or Death Road to Canada becomes a 2-chair game, which is appropriate considering that Ven is not even allowed in Canada. So final thoughts?
Well, it's definitely an improvement on the Oregon Trail genre, but not a significant one at that. It's also very, very hard to justify 15 wet sticky caches when in 2 hours of game, none of my characters came down with dysentery.
It's not right. I think it's a bit of a high ask. I mean, and I hate saying that because, I mean, it's a very well done game. I mean, this is not shovelware by any means. A lot of time, work. And continuous work because the developer is like, I hate bugs. And it's like, well, you know, when you upgrade to 1604, maybe you want to keep around to 1204 and, you know, 1404 or something like what it says on the requirements page and double check that, Brad. Don't hate it. I would love some multiplayer. I mean, this is a party game. You can have hours with something like this if you can get some 4-way going. Giggity. I just wish people would quit jumping in cars during zombie apocalypses. Find a fucking motorcycle or a pedal bike. You know, they don't make as much noise and they don't use as much petrol. You're going to get further. Use your brain organ for once.
Yeah, one of the this game has a great sense of humor because I hijacked both the dog van from Dumb and Dumber and Dale from King of the Hill's extermination van. And there's like a Wienermobile and all sorts of shit. Like these guys said, this game is fairly well put together, but for $15, considering you're really going to play it for maybe half an hour at a time, the odd time you have half an hour to kill, that's a bit much. Well, it's really when you boil it down, it's kind of an okay game, and that's really it.
Making your character list like enemies, the people you don't like, maybe that could give you some replay value.
Maybe if you just like watching people get mad at each other, but then you could just watch our Portal playthroughs and get the exact same result.